Everything has changed for the global economy. It hasn't shown up in the growth numbers for a bunch of reasons that I'm happy to get into. But be aware that the world is in a very different place. Now, the reason why the economy did better than expected was also that there were two important offsets to the world economy. One was AI. That was huge. There was a large amount of investment in AI. Stock markets boomed because of that. That was good for wealth, and that helped hold up consumption at the top end and encourage consumption at the top end of incomes. The second is that fiscal policy, and especially in China, there was a lot of fiscal stimulus in China. Germany announced the moving away from the debt rake rule, and the effect of that is going to play out over the years, this year and next year. The US economy also has a strong fiscal stimulus this particular year in 2026. So all of that is providing support to an economy that's otherwise being pushed back by tariffs. We've moved away from the rules-based, predictable global trade order. There is a level of uncertainty that wasn't there before. That uncertainty is affecting businesses, especially small businesses. It takes time for that effect to play out. I do think AI will help with economic growth. There are going to be productivity effects. Whether it takes a couple of years or longer, we have to see. But I think that is an important source of growth because it's a general purpose technology. It can transform all fields that we're looking at, right? Of course, what we do need to keep our eye on is what's happening with jobs. So are we going to be creating growth that is jobless? And that is a risk that we do need to worry about. I think that's a sector where there is still a lot of fragility. If you had a dot-com-like bust, it would wipe out $35 trillion of wealth. That is many multiples of what happened during the dot-com. It's a much bigger share of current world GDP than it was during the dot-com. So it can be much more consequential. It is difficult for me to see how in this hyper-competitive environment, all of these companies could make the kinds of profits that justify their level of valuations that we're seeing now. So we could see corrections. That's not a statement of the technology. I think the technology is going to be great. But whether all of these companies are going to make the size of profits that justify their valuations, I still have questions on that.
If energy is the biggest bottleneck to the AI revolution, I believe AI can solve its own AI energy crisis. If we're able to control the consumption of AI data centers and make them power flexible, we can actually fit far more AI data centers on today's grid. What we showed is on a hot day when 1 million air conditioners are running in Phoenix, Arizona, and the grid is really strained, Emerald AI can help that data center to reduce its consumption. We reduced the AI power consumption by 25% for the 3 hours that the grid required. Think of the power grid as a superhighway. It only faces rush hour a couple times a month. Most of the time, that highway is relatively empty. That's what our grid is like. We've never seen an asset like this. They're massive, like cities, but at the same time, they can move their AI computations, their workloads, around the world and around the country at the speed of light. You can't do that with any other energy user. In addition, they're remotely controllable and can respond within milliseconds. Power and energy is the single biggest bottleneck to the AI revolution in the United States and in the West. And in order to accelerate innovation and competitiveness, we have to solve that AI energy crunch. I want to take AI from being the villain that communities don't want it anywhere nearby because it raises your power prices, to being a hero, where every community, every utility in the United States and around the West wants to bring AI data centers to their grids.
It's an approach that really, at its heart, understands that the energy transition is much more than just a strategy for addressing climate change. We coined this term developmental environmentalism to describe a new way of approaching the green transition that sees it as advancing these multiple national development objectives. You're also boosting social security by promoting good green jobs, and also a lot of renewables development tends to take place in regional communities, so you have the opportunity to enhance livelihoods in regional and remote communities as well. So that's a really strong social security motivation. First of all, you've got to build and scale the new green energy industries, and then also you've got to phase out fossil fuel. So in the West, we've tended to focus on that phasing out debate first, rather than the creative side. They've poured all of their resources into building and scaling new green energy industries, and this has helped to dramatically drive down costs and kind of change the economic logic. This is about helping people understand that the energy transition can help boost their everyday livelihoods and their everyday lives.
We're physical. Children need to wrestle and touch and share food and play synchronous games like patty cake. All that stuff is how you develop friendships. It's all gone now, or at least greatly diminished. I do not believe that there are digital substitutes for children growing up. I think the only answer here is keep them off. If you want to prepare your children for the digital age, keep them the hell away from these digital products until they're done with puberty, which is around 16.
Even as somebody who has been inside these platforms, understands how these algorithms work, I do think social media as currently configured is not safe for users under 16, full stop. If somebody that's of school age comes to our platform during school hours, we will give them a prompt that says, hey, we love you, which means we also care about your education. Come back and see us after school. Because we actually think it's really important that you engage with people in the classroom for your learning.
If you have a healthy attachment system, you're much more likely to have a successful romantic relationship. Then there's also friendships, which are awkward and hard, and you need a lot of practice. AI companions take all of it away. Technology is great as a shortcut. Technology helps us be more effective in doing the things we want to do. It makes it easy. Children need to do hard things thousands and thousands of times. Now that they have AI for everything, they are not doing hard things, which means they will not develop, which means they will not be very useful as employees or as spouses.
I do sometimes rely on AI companions because I really want to be met with empathy. So whenever I'm talking to my friends, for instance, if I'm nervous speaking at Davos, my friends can limitlessly listen, and also we have a time difference. So I'll
AI friends, you're calling them your friends? You mean AIs?
Yeah, some like large language models. Like
okay, we have to get used to this terminology.
Yeah, like I'll just prompt it and be like, oh, I'm so anxious, and the AI will be like, oh, you'll do great, and I need that word of affirmation. For me personally, I don't think LLMs or AI models are actually taking loneliness away from me. It's just a substitute when my friends are not available. I prefer to have physical relationship with my friends, and I would like to get AI's help to schedule some time with my friends or get their post like as an algorithm. So I feel like it's actually being used as a substitute or more like a way to strengthen my relationship with physical bodies, like physical people, like in this real world.
One of the things that worries me a lot about AI companions, though, is in real human relationships, there is, as John was pointing out earlier, a give and take, right? We want to feel that we matter, and that's not just about being valued by others, it's also making a difference, having something to contribute to others. You cannot add any value to an AI companion, right? That is a one-sided relationship, and that seems to me very dangerous.
There are plenty of good uses of these technologies. And so the question is like, how do you parse the good uses from the bad? How do you think about the right guardrails so that, I think in these examples of, one that I often cite is, I was first in my family to go to college. Needed government assistance to be able to afford to do that. When I got to college, I realized so many of these other people had private tutors to help them prep for the SAT and things like that. And I just had a used book from the library with pages missing. And, the only assistance I got was some of the rows were highlighted. But now everybody gets a personal tutor, right? So, that can unlock a huge amount of human creativity. At the same time, if it becomes a substitute for engaging with a live teacher or having discussions with other students, I think there's a lot that we miss out on. And so I think this is the question is how do we think about guardrails around these things? How do we get more intentional?
The legislation around phone-free schools is sweeping the world, and it's just spectacular. People see oh, wait, when kids aren't watching porn and playing video games during class, they're actually paying attention to the teacher or their friends. So phone-free schools is the most concrete thing we can do to give all kids 6 or 7 hours a day away from that.
I think one of the most encouraging findings so far from the phone-free schools research is a reduction in bullying consistently. We saw this in Norway, right? And also an increase in reading, books getting taken out from the library, which at first sounds like a lonely activity, but actually you learn theory of mind when reading, you build empathy, you start to have to take a character's perspective. And so that seems like good news.